Let me say something that might offend some people because it needs to be said. There's been a wave of some loud people on social media who are claiming to be on a journey of deconstructing Christianity. But many of them, it appears to me that they've never actually studied the traditions they are telling us to go back to. They've not studied the tradition of their ancestors, of their fathers. And the reason that they won't go back is simple. When you really understand what those traditions involve, you realize that they themselves would never practice them. When they realize, right, what's the essence of those traditions that they are claiming was better than Christianity, they will never go back to them. Because you hear a lot of them these days say, especially the ones that claim to be the progressives, and they are on a journey, on a sojourn of deconstruction. They say that Christianity is a white man's religion, and they say white men came to Africa, they took our traditions away and gave us the Bible, and took our lands and properties, and we have constantly found ourselves on this circles of self-blame and pointing fingers, right? They say we should abandon Christianity and return to the African traditional religion. Now, let me slow you down here and think carefully through this, and I want you to follow me on this journey. First of all, nobody is holding anyone hostage in Christianity. Christianity is one of those religions that you can easily come in and go out. Nobody is forcing you, right? If someone sincerely believes the African traditional religion is superior, nothing, absolutely nothing is stopping them from returning to ATR. But here's the interesting thing. The same people who shout the loudest on social media about going back to their tradition, let's go back to our tradition, let's go back to our ancestor, will never actually go back. And the reason is simple. Many of them have never honestly studied what the traditions are involved. And when you look at history, not the romantic version on social media, on TikTok and the one you see, you discover that there are some traditional religious systems that they practice that modern people themselves will never accept. I'll give you a few examples. I always come with examples and practical examples. First, in several societies across the part of West Africa, I'm using West Africa as a case study because that's where I'm more familiar with. You can apply this to your own context. In several societies across West Africa, religious appeasement sometimes involve human sacrifice. Now, historical accounts that we have describe situations where captives or slaves were killed to appease certain deities or to accompany the ruler to afterlife. The Yoruba culture has something they call abobaku. It's a culture where when the king dies or the royalty dies, people have been captured alive and then buried with the king alive to journey with them into the afterlife. Today, the same people who criticize Christianity in the name of human dignity would never accept such sacrifice and such a practice. Did you see the smelling and disgusting hypocrisy? Secondly, some communities practice ritual trials or ordeal that determine guilt and innocence, or undergoes dangerous rituals. And if the person survived, they were declared innocent. If they die, it was considered proof of guilt. So imagine defending that system today in a world that talks about human rights and justice. How do you make sense of that? And this is not to be condescending towards those traditions. No, I'm just saying that there is something very particular and unique about the Christian religion that you should pay attention to. Thirdly, many tradition systems require their constant ritual appeasement to local gods and spirits. These are not symbolic ceremonies. They involve strict obligation, sacrifices, and even elaborate ritual in shrines and sacred forests, sometimes in the middle of the night to prevent misfortune and disaster. They can call you at 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning to go and break coconut on your head in the middle of the jungle. Can you do that? So let me be very clear about something. But many of them carried real wisdom, respect to the communities and reverence for elders, right? And the sense of life is sacred. But every civilization in history, including African civilization, had practices that evolved and changed. Now, this is where Christianity introduced something radically different. And I will say this very carefully for a good understanding. In Christianity, right? In Christianity, pay attention to the word Christianity, Christ-like. God does not require the blood of captives or slaves to appease divine anger. The central claim of the Christian faith is that Christ himself becomes the sacrifice once and for all, ending the cycle of ritual, violence, and fear. So instead of constantly trying to appease some unpredictable spirit, Christianity proclaims a God who offers you mercy, forgiveness, and grace. And out of divine love, without compulsion, without any form of compelling, the God's Son chose willingly to come and die for you and I, once and for all. So when people usually say Christianity destroyed our tradition, the conversation deserves more depth than slogan. Because the real question to me and to you and to us is not simply who brought the religion. That's not the question. The question is, what vision of humanity does the faith produce? Does the faith talk about human flourishing, or it talks about human declining and human degradation? Does it affirm the dignity of every human life? Does it replace fear with mercy? Does it move societies away from ritual violence? These are the questions that matter. Now, I'm not going to go into details about how some people have used Christianity as a tool for their own personal aggrandizement and their own personal gain and their own selfish and myopic evil in the world. I'm not going to go into that historical hurt. Let's stay with the context. So if someone truly believes that the old religious system are better, they are free to study them deeply and return to them sincerely. Nobody is stopping you. But we should stop romanticizing tradition that many of us ourselves have never practiced. Because for me, I believe that intellectual honesty requires more than just slogan. It requires one thing, veritas, and it's the truth. Because I'm sure that many of you that go around on social media clamoring for these traditional religions will never wake up at 2 a.m., go to the bush, and go and drop a calabash of some bronze offering there. How many of you even have the memory today to put in all those incantations and all those chants? How many of you? How many of you will be willing to give your daughters and your children to the chief priest for sacrifice when they say, oh, the anger of the gods is on the land? How many of you can do that? But because Christianity has become a caricature for many people, anybody can just open the church and carry the Bible and just say whatever they would want to say. Because Christianity does not punish people when it comes to, for them saying things that they want to say about Christianity. That doesn't mean people have to just go online and just say anything if you feel like. Because apparently Christians don't care, So we should stop all the charade of this circus of self-fooling and hypocrisy. When in reality, this same Christianity that you were talking down on today gave you life. I saw one of them, they call him Toby, he's a pastor in the UK. Deceiving himself up and down. He was talking down on Christianity. I look at this guy. The same Christianity is talking down on today gave him life, gave him everything he has. The same Christianity is what he used to bamboozle people in the UK and gave him life. Who was Toby before he became a pastor? Who was Toby before he became a pastor? And I saw one again, this charlatan on social media called Daddy Freeze. All his life has been revolving around and talking down on Christianity. And these are the topics, of course, that generate traffic. People want to talk about it. Oh, yeah. That doesn't mean it makes sense. Even the most coherent person can be making so many fallacious statements and structures. That doesn't make it true. How many of them can sincerely go back to their tradition and practice it? None of them. They won't do it because they know that they cannot. So you should be grateful to Christianity for finding you. And you should be grateful, extremely appreciative of God's grace. That God is accepted willingly to come and die on the cross for you. Probably you'll be one of those boys. Sometimes when I was home, around 2 to 3 a.m., you see young boys carrying masquerade, shouting at the middle of the night. Shout, they don't sleep. I pity them a lot. No. Christianity is the only religion where man is no longer searching for God. God is coming to look for you. That is disruptive. That is revolutionary. Buddhism talk about how human beings is going to cope with suffering. Confucianism spoke about how there's going to be political order in the world. It's only in Christianity that you see that God is actively searching and longing to call men back to his fold. You can never find that in any other religion. You can never find that in any other religion where God, where the deity is actively looking for you to come back. Come back to me with all your heart. Don't let fear keep us apart. Trees to bend, but big and small. So let we to others call. Long have I waited for your coming home to me and living deeply a new life. That's what we see in Christianity. So going around trying to talk down Christianity is not the way to go. Go study. The Bible said, study to show yourself approved. Stop advertising your ignorance in public. And the faith of our fathers must be retained and kept. Happy Sunday to you all. I hope this Lenten season give us the grace to be more closer to God and to be more conscious of our surroundings, especially at these very precarious times. Thank you.